Welcome to Permission to Shine, the space where high-achieving women like you come to peel back the layers, overcome what's been holding you back, and rise into your most authentic, powerful self. I'm your host, Sharice Bisram, inner power activation leader and intuitive healer, and a woman who knows what it means to look like she's thriving on the outside, also while feeling disconnected on the inside. This podcast is here to remind you, you didn't come here to just perform, you came here to lead with your soul. Your obstacles, they're invitations to expand. And your power, it was never outside of you. It's been waiting within you all along. Each week we'll dive into honest conversations, healing insight and soul-led strategies to help you stop self-sabotaging, reclaim your light and lead your life, your business and your relationships from deep-rooted truth. So if you're ready to rise with grace, softness and fire, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Hello everyone. Lovely to have you back for another week as always, and this is episode number 104. And what is really kind of coming to the surface for me this week is how there is definitely a change in energy. You're listening to time, it is Leo season, which is my season. I'm so happy about that. I'm a Leo Sun, Leo rising, but I think as a collective, I think we were all ready for some fiery energy. Cancer is very emotional and makes us connect to feelings that we don't always want to feel, and it feels like it's almost an initiation / test, right? And I'd say the difference between an initiation is like it's leading you away from something into something else, and then a test is obviously like just smaller versions of that. Really, it's not as deeply soul aligned, should we say, right? But what I've noticed especially is that a lot of women that I've observed that have also gone through some tests and stuff recently throughout this year are now winning again, which is absolutely incredible. And that is what we love to see. We love to see other women winning because then we know that winning is possible for us, which is all beautiful and amazing. But I have noticed that maybe their ideal of success is masculine. Yes, I said it. And the reason I say that is because if you have come from corporate or you are in a space where, money is the end goal and the successful part, then that is quite a masculine drive, And I think that societally and patriarchally, that's not even a word, is it? Patriarchal? Yeah, the patriarchal concept of money and having money and that being deemed as successful, that's what I mean, is very masculine, right? And I think if we take it back to even probably, let's say 50 years ago, and women finally got the ability to vote, and then they were able to get the same jobs as men, but obviously there was a pay gap and all of the things. It was very, well, women wanted to match the men, didn't they, in that cycle, because women were made to feel like they were less than because they didn't work. So then therefore women wanted the opportunity to be in the same spaces as men, to be able to showcase that they are more than capable to do the same job roles and still run the households and all of the things like that as well. And I go into that a lot in other episodes, so I'm going to stray away from that for the moment. But what my kind of point to this is that money is what makes men feel like they are someone. But if that is your only driving force as a woman, you're missing out on all of the softness, all of the peace, all of the surrendering that your soul came here to do and be. And if you're listening to this and you're triggered as hell, I'm talking to you, sis, okay? I am, because I was you. When someone told me that women are oh well, I'm trying to think of something. Even when we had Andre on to do the dating episodes, he always mentions about how women aren't supposed to work the same amount of hours a day as men are. And back in the day, I would have been like, well, why not? We can do everything men can do. And we can. We absolutely can. But that's not the way our bodies and or our minds and or our nervous systems are meant to run. So my question to you is, what does success look like to you? And if it is having lots of money in the bank, that's amazing. It really, really is. But what else and why? Why do you want to have lots of money in the bank? Is it for status? Is it because you'll be taken seriously then? That is very masculine, and that is a wound that needs to be addressed because money shouldn't be your motivation. It should be a contribution to your journey of receiving success. And I said receiving because when we're doing to be successful, or we're trying to get to be successful, we're in this process of pushing forward and not truly being in it. But success itself is a feeling and an energy. And I can guarantee you right now, exactly where you are, even if you're listening to this in your pajamas, drinking a coffee at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you are a version of success that a past version of you was dreaming to be, right? And especially if you are a woman that has more time on her hands now than ever before, that is success because that is putting a middle finger up to patriarchy and saying, hey, we get to have success our way too. And what I would love even more so for women is for women to start to see time freedom as successful. Because I think a lot of us are, still trying to do all the hours under the sun to receive the money that we feel like would make us feel successful. But if we took money out of the equation, it was never the motivation to get to and reach. What else would be the key point? So for me, for example, travel. I love traveling. I love it with a capital L because it just gives you such a broad perspective on the world. I mean, the world is such a big and beautiful place. If you get a chance to see it, oh, it's just heaven on earth, isn't it? I think we have so many beautiful places around the world. And equally, if you can't travel outside of your country at the moment, get in a car, get on a bus, and go and see a different part of the place that you live in, right? It doesn't have to be big and extravagant. It doesn't have to be 5, 6, 7 star hotels. I love putting my things in a backpack and just going to somewhere in the middle of nowhere and just figuring it out. That's something that I absolutely love. That might not be your idea of success. You might love a bit of luxury, and that's okay too, by the way. I'm not saying that anything is wrong. But my thing for you right now is to pull deeper into the reason why. Maybe it's that you came from a generation of women that never had money and that they depended on men for money their whole lives and they were never really truly met with that. So you want to create a new money legacy for your family because you were never given that at the time, right? So that would be a really beautiful way of looking at why money is important to you, okay? But equally, it could be that you want to create a sustainable and successful business so that you can take all the time off that you want and the business keeps burning in the background while you continue to build your life. Because what I'm seeing at the moment is almost like a loop backwards on ourselves to like being in a blazer and being a powerhouse woman again to be the point of success. Now, there's nothing wrong with that as well. I've got all different coloured blazers, as you've probably seen. Most of them are orange, just saying. But that doesn't make me feel like I'm better than anyone else, And I really want that to be the point here because I sometimes feel like if you are happier with less, then is that not the key? Like if you think back to And I'm not saying you can't have more as well. I'm really not saying you can't have more. You absolutely can. You can be happy exactly where you are now, when it's not all figured out, when you haven't made that income goal, when you're just putting a Pop Tart in the toaster and having that with a cup of tea in the morning and having a lovely time because that's what you want, right? You don't need to be eating smoked salmon and caviar every day to deem yourself as successful. That's the point I'm trying to make here. And it's not about the material success. And it's also not about frazzling our nervous system in order to get there. And I think this is the part that I have, the annoyance that I have within the industry of mindset, because sometimes I've said it before, the identity work is almost bypassing the deeper healing work there, because my point of view on this is that you can switch identities to the version of you that has everything that you want and more. But when something goes wrong or it doesn't work out the way you thought it would, you might then fall into a loop of the old identity, which will happen because that happens even in healing. And then you don't have the tools to work through the part that needs to be healed because you think that you've just got to jump back into that personality again. And then you create a new karmic loop of pretending, and then you start to believe and you become, and then you forget and you fall off again. And then you go back in that circle again. And this is the part that I really feel like the identity work seems almost a little bit masculine for me, because it's almost like saying, do this and you will get this, right? That in itself is just masculine. And I know people will say, oh, you've got to be it, right? You've got to be that energy. And you have got to be in that energy. And that's not wrong, by the way. The identity work is not wrong. But what I'm trying to say is you have to have that solid foundation. And I say it over again, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. You have to have a solid foundation, because otherwise, everything that you're doing is just fragile, you know? And I think that as women, we have this reputation from very toxic masculine perspectives that we are fragile and breakable. But I believe that we are fragile because we're delicate and we're precious and we deserve to be nurtured. You know, like you're fragile like the stem of a plant, but that stem of the plant bears fruit, and the roots dig down into the earth and they keep rebirthing over and over again. That's the type of fragile I think you are. I mean, you are as a woman. And I think this is the part that for me that makes me so angry. You can probably hear how passionate I am right now. This is coming off of my cycle as well. So I'm in this like energy of like, ah. But it's the fact that society has made us believe as women, our thoughts and feelings and the natural way that we move through life is weak, but actually, it is the complete opposite of that. Like we birth life through our bodies, right? Let alone all of the beautiful, creative, intuitive energies and powers that we have. So, for any moment in your life you ever doubt yourself, I want you to come back to that knowing that you are the creator of life, yeah, of reality. It comes from the feminine energy. And if, again, I'm going to go back to the Sophia Code, if you listen to that, she talks about female Christ consciousness and that we are in the womb. You know, like when things go still and it feels like nothing's working, you are in the womb of creation right there. And if you own that space and say, okay, right now, I've gone back into the womb and I'm going to be birthed again, and my ideas are being birthed again, and where I'm moving forward to is being birthed again, that feels like a liberating space instead of stuckness, right? But the masculine perspective will have you think that when things go quiet, it's not working or it's wrong. And I even fell into that loop myself recently. But this is the thing, and I said this to you all before, that I know that when you are shifting timelines or realities, or wherever you want to be next, maybe you've set that income goal because you are trying to create generational wealth. I wouldn't even say trying, you are intending and planning and focusing your energy on creating generational wealth for your family to come, so you create a new money story so everyone lives abundantly, then everything else around you crumbles. So the old has to go. So if you've been clinging on to crappy jobs or toxic exes that, drain your money from you, or friends that always expect you to pay the bill. All of that stuff, that will all fall away so you can adopt the right actions that will take you into the space of your most wealthiest self, right? This is all part of the process. So when you get to that point where everything is falling apart and you are now sitting in darkness thinking, where do I go from here? The seed always gets planted in complete darkness before it sprouts into the light. That's exactly what's happening with you. And I think when we can take this feminine approach to success and to building, that gives us our power back. Because for so long, I think we've been seen as, like I said, weak or less than because we're not doing it the same way. And even down to the fact that there are so many like mumpreneurs in the world right now that are, building businesses around their kids. My previous mentor, Rebecca Barr, she has 6 children and she is a 7-figure business owner, right? So tell me about that, because that is exactly what, and that's the reason why I hired her as a mentor, because I was like, wow, if you can build these businesses with that amount of children, you are an absolute boss. And that for me is really what divine feminine leadership looks like, let alone she's the most amazing collaborator of women and connector of women and all of the things. So for me, it's like there gets to be another way we do things. But unfortunately, especially in the coaching space, it feels a little bit like success is only deemed by money sometimes, and or this thing about identity. And also another thing that is annoying me about this right now is people trying to use spirituality and spiritual terms when they are clearly aren't a spiritual person. Now, that is a biased opinion of mine. I'm taking accountability on that because everyone's interpretation of where they're at in their own lives is absolutely theirs. But I think what for me feels like a bit like negligence is when you don't understand the concepts into which you're using the words that they are there, consciousness. And I've seen people use the word portals quite a lot. And I'm like, I wonder if you know what a portal is. Um, and that for me is where I get a bit irked. But again, that's my human self, that's my ego, that's my Leo self reacting there. But I think it's important to share with you because I want you to know that it doesn't have to just be all love and light. Some things can piss you off and it's okay, right? I mean, this, like I said, this is like end of cycle rant, but equally, just normalizing it. I think that for me, there's nothing more successful than seeing people live their lives the way they want to, you know? Like there's a couple of business owners I've got on my socials now that I've connected with in the past, and they are literally just like they live out in the middle of nowhere and they just walk their dogs every day. Some of them have other animals and they're just having a lovely time with their family. They're not necessarily like posting sports cars and things like that. And I think when we can get into this normality of like success is whatever you want it to be, that's when it gets to be beautiful. And do you know what? Every step of the way is beautiful. But I think when you feel like you have to do things to prove that you're successful or prove your worth, that's when it becomes a little bit toxic. And for me, this idea that you have to be a different version of yourself or shift identities, that for me feels a bit like because the light and the dark both exist, right? Your most abundant self and your most scarcity mindset self live together. You can't eradicate one. So, yes, it's important to think like the version of you that has it all. It really, really is. But take your scarcity self with you along the journey because they play an important role in your life. Like, yes, you don't want them to make the decisions anymore, but you want to say, look what's possible for us and get them on side with you. So then they don't feel scared, you know. They're not trying to sabotage anything because they've come with you along the journey. And I think that's so important because so many of us are, focusing on the identity shift, focusing on the quantum leap shifts, leaving your inner child, your inner teen behind. And that is the pullback that you always get because they are left behind. Whereas if you can take them with you on the journey, that's what helps your internal world catch up with your ideals, right? And this is the thing, right? Your internal should be the compass. So you should be working on your inner self first so you can then live your outer reality the way you want to. And so many people are doing the reverse way round. And that's why success feels fickle because it's just falling within their fingertips because it's made of sand almost, right? So I think that for me, everything that we do, it's like, why is this important to me now? Why is money a motivator for me? Is it just because I've seen that that's the way other people do it? And actually, I just want to wake up late every morning, have a cup of tea, and walk my dog. Do you know what I mean? Like that could be your idea of success. It doesn't have to be the way everyone else wants it to be. And I've used business owners as an example in this episode because it's so prevalent in that industry. But it can be like in your normal everyday life as a 9 to 5 or as a working mum or as someone that does just some creative things on the side and then has a full-time job, whatever that looks like for you is your interpretation of this. And I hope that this is making sense to you because we put money on a pedestal. We do as a society. We make it feel like that's the only way you're successful is if you have money in the bank account when actually there's so much more to life than that, you know? And I think for me, it comes back again to this place of do we feel fully held in our spaces as women? Because a lot of women that I meet that are financially successful don't always feel supported. And then that's where this kind of imposter syndrome starts to sink in and fear that they'll lose it all starts to come in and all of these other emotions that sort of debilitate us almost, right? So when you make success based on integrity and alignment with your soul's purpose and what you feel like you're here to do and create in this lifetime, which you might not even know, and that's okay. But when you're doing it with love and intention, the success that you have there will always be there, regardless of the amount of money that you make. But unfortunately, we're climbing the ladder to get to the top, to have all the money and be on top of the mountain. And actually, you might look around and there's no one there with you. And for me, is that the success that I want? No. And it's not about carrying people on your back to take them with you. But what if every time you moved a few steps forward, your friends and family and your support system are carrying you too, like you're all supporting each other, helping each other up. And it doesn't even have to be, like I said, from a financial space. There's been times this year where I've not been even been able to climb myself. And my friends and family have gone up before me and they've pulled me up. They're like, you're supposed to do this. You're supposed to be here. And they've helped me. And the only way I was able to accept that because I had to let go of my masculine perspective of success and my ego that was telling me the only way to do it was by myself. And I paused there because I want you to take that in. If you feel like the only way to be successful is to do it all on your own, that is masculine. To allow in help and support is the feminine way of doing things. And collaboration with other women is the most beautiful space that you could possibly ever dream of. Connection, all of these things are really important to us as human beings, but as women, the sisterhood wound is deep. And I spoke about it so many times, and it's just really important that we reclaim that connection with other women and stop seeing them as competitors to us, but as equals. And actually, what I really try to do with especially my content is to make it okay for every type of woman to comment on my stuff or to connect with my stuff because I'm never trying to call people out from a space of I'm better than you. My thing is always to be a mirror. So my role in this world, I feel like, is to be a mirror to people for them to see themselves in my journey and or a reflection of maybe a part of themselves that they are denying at the moment or that feels like it's in the shadow and it's an invitation for it to come forward into the light. So more than anything, I'm saying all of this in this episode to say that your intention, your integrity, and your reason why is so much richer than any amount of money could possibly give you. And if you dive deeply into the reason why you want the money, and what it's going to create for you in your life, you might even see that money isn't the thing that you want in your life the most, you know? And actually, you might be really deeply craving connection that you've denied yourself of because you believe that in order to be successful, you have to do it on your own. So, that was a quite a deep one, and I felt like it was a rant that needed to be had. I'd love to know your perspective on it as well. So if you're listening to this thinking, "Oh my gosh, like you've literally just got me right in the gut," please tell me, because you're not in it alone. Like I said, I've had to live through these cycles over and over again to be reminded myself that I don't have to do it by myself. Because let me tell you, that armor of carrying it on your own is heavy as hell, right? It is hell. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, feeling so depleted at times in my life because I just couldn't carry the weight of the armor, the responsibility, the expectations, and all of the things that I was carrying. And then when I finally got to put it down, I was like, oh, this is what it feels like to be human, or my soul self, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to call it there. It's really interesting. But for me, peace is such a beautiful space. And I believe that not a lot of people give it to themselves, you know, deep inner peace. And I remember one of my friends, one of my best friends actually, Laura Belcher, she's a mentor. She's in Australia now. And I remember she said to me before she went, so this is probably about 3 years ago now, she said to me, I wake up every day and everything is tranquil. And I was like, wow. That's such a beautiful goal to have. And then from there, I started to add that into my manifestations to feel that way. And it was only the other day that I stopped and I was like, I feel so deeply peaceful. And like everything around me was crumbling still. And I was like, this is happiness. You know, I'm not materially where I want to be right now, but I'm really bloody happy in the mess and the chaos and everything else. Like the whole world could be crumbling around me right now. And I'm like, I like me and I like what I'm creating and I like why I'm here. And I know that everything is working in my favor because I love deeply. My heart is open and I'm receiving help, guidance, support, love, clients, all the beautiful stuff. That's really what success is to me, and I'm in it. And I think when things are crumbling, we start to doubt our success and we doubt our worthiness. But I never for 1 second want you to feel like you are less than because you're not where you want to be yet. And if you can claim your power back from that space and say, do you know what? That went wrong or that's fallen apart, but me in here, inside, I'm good. That's the gold dust. That's the part that people are spending their whole life trying to get to. So if you can get to that now and your success builds as a byproduct of that, you're indestructible. You are indestructible and you absolutely deserve that with every fiber of your being. And if you make that declaration to yourself right now that it is absolutely possible for you, you are undeniably going to be successful in your lifetime, then it is so. And it is done. And the universe knows the plan, the way. We don't. It is our human ego that makes us believe that we have to know all the answers and control it. What I'm saying to you as a divine feminine being, if you surrender that control to the universe, stop trying to figure it out, stop trying to force your way to success, stop trying to shift your identity without doing the inner stuff first, that's where you'll find the success in you, inside, inside that heart of yours. That's the key and the compass. I'm sending you so much love. And I know it's complex. I know what I've said might be like a big pie in the face to some people. But again, it's one that I had to take over and over again. And I just want to, yeah, hold your hand as I said that, all of it. And this has rustled something within you that's making you feel like, gosh, I'm really unsupported in my life. This is what I'm here to do, right? I am a mentor and a guide, and I use my intuitive healing energy to support these mindset shifts. And I don't even want to use mindset shifts. Mindset shifts feel so, like I said, masculine. It is deep healing work on that inner foundation level so that you can have strong economical roots that fill your trunk, So you can grow into this beautiful, strong, standing tree that flourishes and shines unapologetically, because that's what you're here to do, you know? You're here to shine unapologetically, regardless of what material success looks like, because the inner success is far more beautiful, always. And actually, they both go hand in hand. So there we go. So if this did strike up something in you and you're like, "Oh, you know what, Sharice, yeah, I need to see you, I need to speak with you," drop me a DM on my socials. I have a one-to-one session that is 90 minutes called Becoming Iconic, and you also get 2 days support with me via voice note, and that is just like a really beautiful snapshot of the work that I do. So if that feels like, you know what, I need to do something to shift me out of this, then that is my offering for you there. Or obviously the portal. And I did a beautiful new moon workshop this week. It was just chef's kiss, and so many transformations happened, deep healing happened in that space. It's just gorgeous. And that is £33 a month. And I do one kind of more soulful space where we do deep healing work, and the next one that I do that's live is always around the full moon, and that's a more movement based one. So yes, those are your invitations. And obviously if you want to work with me on a longer period of time, I have 6 or 12 months available as well for the women that are ready to really deeply transform their lives from the roots up, right? So yes, drop me a DM, drop me an email, whatever works for you. And I'm just sending you so much love. So more than ever right now, write down for yourself, what does success look like for me? What does it feel like? And why is money important for my soul's journey? Because I think once you know that, that's all the answers you need. I'm sending you so much love. Speak to you soon. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Please do comment as well what you feel like you've learned from the episode. It's really helpful. And if you can rate it on a 5-star review, I would be so grateful, because that just means that more women get access to these teachings within the episodes. And also, who would you like to be on the show? DM me and let me know. And please do share with a friend that you know needs to hear what's in this episode today. I would also love to invite you into my inner power portal, because that is the space where all of my meditations are, all of my activations, and I host 2 live sessions per month that do include movement and my spiritual downloads and all the beautiful things that I offer all in one space. Plus you get to ask me any questions that you have. So I'd love to see you in there. Have a great week.